You know that feeling of being completely stuck? Like, no matter what you try, you just can't seem to break free from your situation. It's it's just so frustrating. Well, today we're going to get into the real science behind that feeling, and this is the important part, the actual evidence-based way to get unstuck. Yeah, this quote really hits home, doesn't it? Because it's the reality for so many people. You go to therapy, you do the work, you try everything, but that feeling of being trapped, it just doesn't move, and you're left feeling completely hopeless.
So, the big question is why? Why does this happen? Why do we hit that wall and just stay there? Look, this has nothing to do with a lack of willpower. Turns out there's a powerful reason for this feeling, deep in our psychology and even our brain wiring. And once you understand it, well, that's the first real step to taking it apart.
All right, let's get right into it. This whole experience we're talking about, it actually has a name. It's something that's been researched for decades, and it's called learned helplessness. Think of it like an invisible trap that keeps you feeling absolutely powerless.
So here's the official breakdown. It's basically a psychological state that happens when you've gone through a bunch of negative stuff that you just couldn't control. And the most important word here is learned. Your brain literally learns from these experiences that, hey, nothing I do seems to matter, so why even bother trying anymore? And let's be super clear, this is not a character flaw. It's a conditioned response.
And this thing, learned helplessness, it doesn't just show up as one feeling. It's more like a trio of problems that really affects your whole life. First, you've got the motivational deficit. That's the part where you just stop trying, even when a good opportunity comes along. Then there's the cognitive deficit. This is where your brain actually struggles to learn that your actions can make a difference. And finally, the emotional one. This is that heavy weight of hopelessness, anxiety, and depression that just settles in.
Okay, now let's get into the brain science, because this is where things get really fascinating. You see, recent research has completely flipped what we thought we knew about helplessness upside down. What scientists have found out about our brain's default setting when it comes to stress, it's a total game changer.
And here it is, the big reveal. For the longest time, everyone thought helplessness was something our brain learned to do. But the neuroscience, it shows the exact opposite. Being passive, giving up, that's actually the brain's default response to long-term stress. It's the factory setting. It's a biological fail-safe, not some kind of personal failure.
And this slide just lays it out so perfectly. See, when you're facing stress that feels totally out of your control, it activates the threat center in your brain. And that center basically just screams, shut down, give up. But, and this is so cool, when your brain feels like you have even a little bit of control, it fires up a different part, the control center. And that part acts like a brake pedal on the threat center. It physically stops it. So just the feeling of control literally rewires your brain's response, pushing you toward action instead of just giving up. So let's just land the plane here, because this is the single most important point. We've had it all backwards. We don't learn to be helpless. That's our brain's automatic response when it's overwhelmed. What we learn is control. Things like resilience and taking action, they're not something you're just born with. They are skills. And like any skill, they can be taught. So we've got the biology down, right? Now let's switch gears and look at the psychology of it. Because it turns out the stories we tell ourselves, that internal monologue that runs when something bad happens, that story is what keeps the trap of helplessness locked shut. And this chart, this is pretty much the whole playbook. Researchers found there are basically two ways people explain bad stuff that happens to them. On the left, you've got the pessimistic style. That's the trap. Something goes wrong and the story is, this is permanent, it's going to last forever. It's pervasive, it's going to ruin everything. And it's personal. It's all my fault. See how that just fuels the feeling of helplessness? But look over on the right. The optimistic style. That's the escape route. The same event happens, but the story is, this is temporary, it's specific to this one situation, and the circumstances were just tough. And if you live in that pessimistic column long enough, you eventually end up here, with this one core defeatist belief. Because if everything bad is forever, ruins everything and is always your fault, well, what's the logical conclusion? Nothing I do matters. And that's not just feeling down for a day. That's a deep-seated belief that just kills your motivation dead in its tracks. Okay, so how do we get out? If control is a skill that we can learn, then it makes sense that someone can teach us, right? And that brings us to this awesome concept, learned controllability. It's the active, deliberate process of retraining your brain to see that, yes, you do have power, you do have agency.
And when it comes to how to do this, the research is crystal clear. The most effective, scientifically proven treatment for taking apart learned helplessness is something called cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. It is literally designed to go after the exact thoughts and behaviors that keep you trapped.
So, what's the escape plan look like? Well, CBT gives you a really clear step-by-step path. Step 1, you got to identify those defeatist beliefs, the nothing I do matters stuff. Step 2, you learn how to challenge that story and reframe it. But step 3 is maybe the most important. You start taking small, deliberate actions. You re-engage with the world in a way that proves that old negative story wrong. And every little action helps rebuild that connection in your brain. The one that says, hey, what I do does matter. And that's how you build that final skill. And that ultimate skill has a name too: learned optimism. Now, this isn't some fluffy, just think positive idea. No way. This is the practical, conscious skill of changing how you explain things to yourself. It's the whole point of the therapy, to train your brain so that its automatic default response is constructive, builds you up, and keeps you resilient, even when life throws its worst at you.
Okay, so where do you even start a journey like this?
Look, just understanding all this stuff is a huge, huge first step. But actually walking out of that trap, that's way easier with an expert guide. If there is only one thing you take away from all this today, please let it be this: that feeling of being trapped is not a life sentence. Helplessness can be unlearned. Hope isn't just a fluffy feeling, it's a strategy. And that's where expert help can make all the difference. A practice like Edward Jenny and Associates, for example, they specialize in exactly this kind of science-backed approach. Their whole focus is on helping you get unstuck by teaching you that crucial skill of controllability. What's really great about their approach is, first, it's collaborative. They work with you to get to the root of the problem fast, so you're not spending years just feeling stuck. It's also team-based, which means you get more than one expert brain focused on finding the best path for you. And maybe most importantly, they provide that guided accountability that you need to actually move forward and make the changes stick. So it really all comes down to this question for you. Now that you've seen the science, now that you know there's a real path out, are you ready to stop being just a character in that old, painful story and start being the author of a brand new one? Are you ready to take back control? If that answer is yes, then here's your first step. You can get started by reaching out to Edward, Jenny, and Associates. Just head to their website or give them a call to book a free consultation. It's a completely no-risk way to find out if this is the right approach to help you finally get unstuck and move forward.